So welcome to the start of another console war. And the funny thing is, I've lived through all of them up to now. And I tell you, why can't things be as simple as it was back in the day with the Super Nintendo and the Genesis going at it against each other? Those were simpler times. And these days, things are a little bit more complex. But boy, gaming sure has come a long way over the years. And so what I'm going to ask you guys, first of all, which system are you going to get? Are you jumping into next generation? Or are you saying, you know what? I'm happy where I'm at right now. I got a lot of games in the backlog. I don't need to get the latest, greatest thing. I can wait a couple of years until they iron out all of the problems, because that sometimes happens with early adopters. So are you getting the new machines? Are you only getting one? You're not getting the other? Let me know down below. And today, I'm just going to go through the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X and try to make some sense out of it all, because there's so much information out there that I've been trying to piece it together, and I'm like, there's a lot to all of this. So anything I leave out or anything that I get wrong in any capacity, also let me know down below. This is meant to be a discussion about next generation and give you the pros and cons of all these machines, because it's not as simple anymore as it was with the Super Nintendo versus the Genesis. So we'll start off with both of these machines. The PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X have two versions. So there's the PlayStation 5 and then there's a PlayStation 5 digital version. Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. Wow, yeah, that's the digital version, the S version. So there's two different versions of each console. The most expensive version, we'll talk about price as well, is the base model, which is the PlayStation 5, which can take discs. And that is about $4.99 US. And also has digital games and all that. We'll get into the details of this in a bit. This is the Xbox Series X, that also takes discs and is $4.99 as well. So they're pretty kind of even. Now we get into the digital versions of these machines. So for the PlayStation 5 digital, it's $100 less at $3.99 US. And here's the differences between the Xbox Series S and the digital version for the PlayStation 5. The Xbox Series S is $2.99 only. Wow, why is that the case? Where it's digital only, so obviously you can't use any discs on there, and it's 1440 resolution, and it upscales to 4K, where the base machines themselves will do 4K right out of the box and go straight to upscaling to 8K. I want to see that in time. I'm not getting an 8K TV by any stretch of the imagination yet. So the Xbox Series S is the cheapest version of a next-gen console, but it's not 4K right out. It upscales to 4K. But it has all of the features that these other machines have as well. Except in memory, it has 512 gigs, and for the Xbox Series X, it has 1 terabyte. And also, for the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 5 digital, both of those are 825 gigabytes each. So right now for the PS5, you can hook up an external hard drive for it, but there's so many makes and models that we're gonna have to figure that out in the future. And also about getting in and doing internal memory, that's something we're gonna have to find out about in the future. And we gotta talk about size for a second here. Yes, it has come to that point in the conversation. Does size really matter? Where, oh my God, the PlayStation 5 is ridiculously huge. It's one of the biggest consoles that I have ever seen. I saw a comparison of them all, and PlayStation 5 was like the Empire State Building. I was like, oh my God, look at that thing. Crazy. And here's something that I find fascinating. You know, Xbox in the past has always had the biggest machines. Remember the original Xbox? That machine was so gigantic. And I remember going, oh my God, I remember the Duke controller, everything like that. So when I saw the Xbox Series X, I'm like, it's gonna be massive, it's gonna be gigantic. I couldn't believe how small it was. That was a bit of a shock to me. And so I don't know if that matters to you, but you know what? In these days, when we're trying to make space, I'm like trying to figure out, how am I gonna put a PlayStation 5 on its side or this way? I don't know at all. Now, one thing that the Xbox Series X definitely has that I find very fascinating is the Ultimate Game Pass. This is over 100 games. It's got past EA games and every first-party game that Xbox, Microsoft creates day one. So you pay a monthly fee on that, but there is so many games from the past and current that you'll get right away. So that's a really cool service. By year, it's a bit expensive, but realistically, to jump in, that's a couple of games. The price of that alone is a couple of games, and you get a ton of games. And that gets into xCloud. This is another service that I'm telling you, Microsoft is planning for the future. And they have, unlike Stadia, that had a terrible model coming out right away, Microsoft has a back catalog of amazing games right away and great first-party games that you get this with xCloud. One day you'll be able to play anywhere. You'll be able to play on any TV as long as you have your Xbox controller and you can sign in. You're good to go. And that, unfortunately, is the future of video gaming. I believe all these games, all this physical stuff you see behind me, one day, I believe, will be fully digital, just like streaming services. Have you noticed that 4K Blu-rays and all that are finding less and less releases? Blu-rays are getting less and less releases. Physical media is going to be a dinosaur one day. And I don't want to admit it. I don't want that to happen at all. But it looks like that's the way it's going to be going. Stadia was looking into doing that, but they didn't do so well. Where Microsoft, with xCloud and Ultimate Game Pass, that's their core. And that's what they're going to take forward. And that's going to be a fascinating thing going forward, because I'm telling you, that's why we also have two different versions of each console to appease two markets. The market of, hey, I don't want a bunch of physical games, I just want my digital releases. And us old timers going, hey, I want my physical copy. They're like, here you go too. Old timer, we'll give you another 10 years, we'll get rid of you. And it's going to be very interesting for Microsoft going forward, because you know what? They've been acquiring studios like crazy. We were waiting for the acquisition of Sega, which didn't happen. Another year has gone by, and they did not buy Sega. But they bought this little company, small company. I don't think we'll ever hear much from them. Bethesda, Fallout, Skyrim, The Elder Scrolls, Starfield coming out, Doom. This is a huge move, a gigantic move. And realistically, right now, we were like, okay, that's a big move, but over time, we're gonna see it. And with Xbox, Game Pass, imagine playing the latest Elder Scroll game day one, boom, like that. Fascinating stuff. I mean, that's stuff to think about going forward. And that's the thing now. As I said, that's why I want to do this video. This is a complicated scene now. This is like a game of chess that these two companies are playing. And they're playing it for the long run, and a bigger long run than we can even see at this point. That brings me into Sony. What is Sony going to do? Well, they have their PlayStation Plus collection, basically their greatest hits. So when you get your PS5 and you sign in and you subscribe to PlayStation, you can download this entire collection of greatest hits games for free. We're talking about Persona, Uncharted, the list goes on and on. All of the great games that have come out on the PS4 will be there day one for PS5. And that's an incentive as well. There's a lot of people, I know you won't believe it, because we're all like crazy video gamers here, but there's a lot of people who didn't buy a PS4 that just were like, no, I'm gonna do that. So if they jump in on PS5, they're gonna have a back catalog of greatest hits games from Sony day one. That is a really cool option to delve into. Okay, backwards compatibility. What do you get on PS5? You get to play PS4 games on PS5. And that gets a lot more complicated. That's a video for another time as well. But that's it. There's no PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, PlayStation 3. We've always wished every generation that there would be that level of backwards compatibility, and every generation we never get it. And somehow we're always surprised by it. So I really kind of thought going in, yeah, it's going to be PS4 games only on PS5. But I kind of like that. I got a big collection of PS4 games and I can use them on my PlayStation 5. I can have one system, one gigantic system to live in and to play all of these great games. Now on the Xbox Series X, this is pretty cool for backwards compatibility. Xbox One games, the original games. Then we get Xbox 360 games. Then we get Xbox One games. All of them are compatible with this new machine. And some of them have updates, which make them higher resolution, better frame rate. That exists as well. So you get a back catalog. You can bring all of that forward going forward. That is really cool. That's something I really like on the Xbox. Now let's talk about the controllers. I've got to say that the Xbox controller is kind of like the Xbox controllers of the past, and that's not a bad thing. That's a great controller, and it's fascinating with xCloud going forward. You can just take that with you and play basically anywhere on that streaming service. That's fascinating stuff. What has the PlayStation 5 got? It's got a brand new looking controller, and I gotta say, I'm kind of glad they shook it up, because every generation is like, it's the same controller, but they made such a perfect controller that I was always okay with it looking basically the same. I'm like, yeah, that's fine. I've always liked that controller, but I liked how they've shaken it up. I like the haptic controls in the controller. Fascinating stuff. I've not felt it myself, what this is like. I don't think a lot of people have. All I can relate it to is a phone that uses haptics, and my iPhone does. And sometimes when, you know, there's a special effect on the iPhone, I can feel all through my hands into the phone itself, and it feels wild. So playing a racing game or something like that, and the vibration kind of coming from your thumb to your fingers, that's going to be a really interesting idea going on. And so big applause to the controller design of the PS5. I think it looks stellar. So that brings us to the games, and both of these machines need killer apps. For PlayStation 5, you got backwards compatibility with PlayStation 4, and you also get the PlayStation 4 Greatest Hits Collection, and you also have access to PlayStation Now. And PlayStation Now is awesome because you get PlayStation 2 games and PlayStation 3 games. And as a note, you have to pay for that separately compared to PSN. So both of those are separate services. Plus, you get some games that I'm not going to talk about all of them because there's a bunch of games. I'm going to talk about some games that I personally am looking forward to. The new Ratchet and Clank game looks wonderful. My friend Andrew has always loved the Ratchet and Clank games. He always picks up the latest games, and I'm like, wow, you're really into these games. And then I saw this new one and I was like, yeah, this looks really, really nice. Are some of these games pushing the envelope for graphics, like showing you really what next gen is? It's hard to say at this point because we've not hit the ceiling of what graphics are on these machines yet. We won't know for a bunch more years, but I thought Ratchet and Clank looked like a lot of fun. I really like the lighting, the environments, the huge world. I was kind of sold on that one. I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I will pick that up for a fun launch game. And Spider-Man Miles Morales, I gotta say, I'm a big fan of Spider-Man, especially on the PS4. And this one is kind of cool because you can just get the game on its own, or you can get it as well with the original Spider-Man with enhanced graphics. So yes, it gets a little confusing with all the different versions and which one you should get and which ones are upgraded and which ones are not. But I swear to God, that's a video for another time. I love the PS4 version of Spider-Man. I finished the game in a weekend to review it a few years back now, and I just fell in love with it. I thought they really captured the entertainment of what Spider-Man is, swinging through the city, fighting criminals in the streets, and just taking photographs along the way. I thought they really nailed Spider-Man. Looking forward to this brand new one. Okay, so if somebody was to ask me, what are you buying a PS5 for? What do you want a PS5? I would turn to them like this, and I would say, Demon Souls. Yes. Is it a remaster? Well, no, it's a full remake. And have you seen the 4K footage of this? It's quite something else. And the comparison from the old game to the new game, it is honestly a system seller for me. I do like Demon Souls. I think it's a wonderful game. I like the environments, the gothic setting, the evil, the hell of it all, the hell of playing it, of dying all the time. But there's something remarkable about the game. And I really believe that the original is a classic, but they're building on it and creating this brand new version that is the definitive version of it that you will ever need to play. So if you've never played it, go jump in. It's kind of an action RPG game where you will die a lot, you will learn a lot, but when you start winning in the game, it creates a level of euphoria that no other game series can grant you. I had it in Bloodborne. I had some moments in that. I was like, oh my God, I get it. And I was sold for life. And then Dark Souls 3 also got me as well. But go back to the originals of Demon Souls because I think it's a really incredible looking game on the PS5. And Destruction All-Stars looks like a fun game as well. You know, ramming into other cars and trucks. That looks like a lot of fun. And also, Devil May Cry, the special edition with the Virgil special mode is in there. That's got me a little hyped. So I really liked me some Devil May Cry 5 on the PS4. So I'm going to be I think it's basically the same game with a lot of extra modes in there. But from what I've seen, it looks really, really nice. Now, I must admit, on the Xbox Series X, what are the games I'm looking forward to? I'll be honest, I was really looking forward to Halo Infinite. I'm a huge Halo fan from the original Xbox when it was released, and I love that game. I spent way too many hours playing it, a split screen against my friends, and I fell in love with the Halo franchise. And I must admit, over the years, I've fallen a little bit more off, but I was looking forward to this version, and then all of a sudden they're like, no, we're delaying it. I think a lot of people were disappointed by that because that's a big game for launch, but I'd rather a game be delayed and we get something, wonderful and fully fleshed out in the future the way it's meant to be. So I'm fine with that. I think a lot of the strength with the Xbox Series X and S is in its back catalog at this point, and a lot of the upscaled games. So you got Gears Tactics, which looks pretty good, and then you got Gears 5, and Gears 5 is awesome because it's going to be an enhanced version. Forza, I can't even imagine Forza getting an update, getting an upscale on next-gen hardware for the Xbox Series X. Whoa, that's going to be killer. So for me personally, one of the games I'm looking forward to the most on the Xbox Series X is an enhanced version, and it's Yakuza Like a Dragon. Now, for anybody who knows about this series, it used to be a beat-em-up series, right? So you just beat up characters over and over and over again, where now it's got turn-based in it, and the fascinating thing is the main character is obsessed with Dragon Quest, one of my favorite series, so I want to play it to see his obsession levels and see if they reach my obsessive levels as well. So something that's really kind of cool is you can go in Game Pass and play some of the past Yakuza games. So they're there so you can experience what this is all about. And unlike Sony's very confusing upgrading to their past games on the PS5, the thing about smart delivery is all of those games are going to be free to upgrade. Here is the thing. Which system will I be getting? What one will I personally be doing? I will be getting both of them because I'm a video game enthusiast, I am the happy console gamer, and I always get every single console. I always do. So it's not like I will only be a PlayStation fanboy or an Xbox fanboy or a Nintendo fanboy. I'm a fanboy of all of these companies and all of the great game developers out there. I love all of them for all of the different things they do. And I think going forward, this is the most fascinating generation I have ever seen. And guess who wins in the end of the day? We all do. We all do, for sure. There's so much choice now, for sure. And we all have a very big choice to make, don't we, out there? You guys, you have a very big choice to make. You can do the ultimate choice and say, nope, I'm not doing anything. Or you jump in and get the next generation consoles. Now, let's be honest here. They're very expensive, right? They're very expensive. For us up in Canada, the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X, the top line models, are $700 each. Canadian with tax and all of that stuff and shipping, all that. That's where that comes to. And that's a hell of a thing to jump into. Never mind if you want to get headphones for your PS5 with that 3D sound that's going on. There's a lot of things to think about. I know in the States, I don't know if they have it here yet, there's the All Access program for the Xbox where you can just walk into a place and they check your credit and they're like, here you go, and they give you an Xbox and you walk out and you pay like a monthly fee or whatever it is but nothing down. And you can just walk out and have that machine. A lot of people are talking they're excited about that. That's the way they're gonna do that. So I'm curious, what are you guys thinking about next gen? Is it exciting? Is it not? Are you confused? It's a big thing to wrap your head around. As I say, it's not the Super Nintendo or the Xbox. Things have got a little bit more complicated, but boy, technology has sure come a long way over time. So let me know, what do you think of next gen? Are you jumping in or are you jumping out? So anyways, guys, until next time.